What is up, my friends and fellow busy bees? Today I wanted to dive into the anatomy of a piece of furniture because there's some terms that get thrown around that are referring to components of a piece of furniture that I know that I didn't necessarily familiarize myself with when I was first starting out doing furniture makeovers, and I thought it would be helpful to bring that to you and give a little bit of a deep dive and explanation on what those things are, because they may already be on the pieces of furniture that you're flipping, or they may be things that are required for you to add on to really finish off those pieces. And not that it's technical or anything like that, the words are just the names of the things, but they're words that I didn't know when I first started out, so I hope this will be helpful for you. I have 5 pieces of furniture anatomy that I wanted to talk about today. The first being drawer slides and glides. And to be perfectly frank, I get these mixed up in my brain all the time. You've probably heard me talk about it on the podcast before because I'm always like, a furniture glide, or maybe it's a slide. And for whatever reason, I can't differentiate which is which in my brain. I don't know why. There's just some sort of block there. But they are quite similar in that they are performing essentially the same purpose. They are components that are added into a piece of furniture that has drawers that you want to pull out in order to allow them to slide in and out smoothly and in a straight line so that they're easy to pull in and out. And so for furniture slides, they can be either side mounted or under mounted. And depending on the types of furniture you're flipping, you may have seen them made from different materials. They can come in metals made of nylon, wood, or plastic. There are steel and aluminum ones that are for heavier duty projects. So that might be more like, for example, in a kitchen, if you have drawers that you pull out and that's going to be holding like your pots and pans, that would have heavier duty drawer slides to allow it to support the weight that would be in that, versus like a shallow drawer on a dresser doesn't necessarily require that because it's probably just going to have odds and bobs in it. And so these can be mounted on the inside of the body of the dresser or whatever it is that has the drawers, on the sides so that the drawer can slide out, or it could be undermounted. So in the upper part of that same area within the dresser, the piece of furniture, in the center, you'll often see, for example, wood drawer slides that are allowing those to slide in and out of place. The undermount ones are harder to install if you're going to have to install it yourself, but those offer a more sleek design and they're a little bit more hidden. And then drawer glides are performing the same purpose. They're allowing the drawer to slide in and out, but it is the hardware that is mounted underneath of the drawer in the center. So that, again, might be made of metal, plastic, wood, and there's a couple different types. There could be roller glides, ball bearing glides, or just the simple kind of wooden ones similar to the undermounted ones that may be on top. These ones are a little bit easier to install because you're just typically fastening it in the front of the frame where the drawer would be sitting, and then on the back as well. Usually they're just fastened with a couple of screws and held in place with some wood glue. I have also seen the plastic ones be stapled in to those spots, but for the most part, that's how they are. And you're going to want to, if you're going to be installing one, make sure that it is level and straight so that the drawer will slide in and out straight and it won't be at an angle and be rubbing up against the sides of the furniture piece. The second piece of furniture anatomy are furniture casters, which you may or may not have seen. I feel like they're not very common on more modern furniture, definitely more of a vintage and antique thing. Well, I guess I take that back because a lot of office furniture, for example, is on furniture casters because it allows the piece to be more mobile. It makes it roll. These are wheels that are attached to the leg of a piece of furniture. And not only does it add mobility, but it also adds height to the piece. So in terms of furniture that you're going to be flipping, you'll often see these on vintage or antique buffets, sometimes sideboards, sometimes dressers, which is quite helpful because those antique solid wood pieces often tend to be very, very dense and heavy, so it makes it a lot easier to move those around, whether it's for you who's working on them or for the person who's having it in their home and maybe has to move them out of the way, move them to get them into place, clean underneath them, or whatever. So there's different types of casters. The stem casters are ones that are mounted inside furniture legs, while cup casters support the leg inside a sturdily constructed cup. And these can be made of various materials as well, depending on when they were made and the type that they are. Both the material that's holding the actual wheel in place and the wheel itself could be made of brass, porcelain, nickel, wood, and then more modern ones made of rubber and plastic. And worth noting, because I came across this recently with a custom client who brought me a dresser that had 2 of the 4 legs in stem casters, which meant they are mounted inside of the furniture legs. We ended up having to switch out the legs on that piece because there wouldn't have been a easy and level way to just cut the wheels and the casters off of that because it's really built into the furniture leg. So just worth noting that it might require a bit of a design change if you're looking to get rid of those. I also don't really understand why you would have casters on 2 of the 4 legs of a piece of furniture, but that's just me. Aesthetically, it was a little bit weird, and functionally, it seems like it would be a bit weird, but that's neither here nor there. The third piece of furniture anatomy are drawer blocks and drawer stoppers. And the function of these is to stop the drawers from falling out of a piece of furniture, so they can be pulled out so that you can, see them in full, but they're not going to fall onto you or whoever's trying to pull those drawers out. They're going to stop right at the end, and there'll be a bit of support holding them into the piece and into the body of the piece of furniture. So there's a lot of variations of these, and there's really quick and easy ways to add those in. If that's not on a piece of furniture that you have, you can just add a drawer block on by mounting a little rectangle piece of scrap wood to the back of a drawer so that it butts up against the frame of the body and it can't be fully removed. There's also antique or vintage metal ones that you may have seen. I guess they're not necessarily vintage, but I find that on more well-aged pieces, they're more prominent. And those are actually mounted at the front of the drawer underneath. And they are, what do they look like? Kind of like half of a throwing star. They're metal and they have 2 little spikes, and they're just pushed into the front frame under the drawer so that when it gets pulled out, it gets caught on that and it can't pull all the way out. And I've also seen little plastic tabs that have been added to the back of drawers, so you would have to kind of get your hand in there and push those down so that they are parallel to the top of the piece of furniture, so that you could then slide the drawer out fully, but otherwise it would hold the drawer in place. The fourth piece of furniture anatomy are mounting plates. And these are metal furniture leg attachment plates, and they're screwed into the frame on the underside of a piece of furniture, and the purpose of them is to allow furniture legs to be added to a piece of furniture and held securely. So instead of mounting the furniture legs directly into the frame or the body of a piece of furniture, you would put these mounting plates on, secure them to perpendicular parts of the frame underneath the piece of furniture, screw those into place, and sometimes you might have to build up the base of that a little bit in order to give it enough to hang on to and securely be held there, because especially some of the cheaper pieces of furniture, they're very bare bones when you flip them upside down, so keep that in mind. You may need to be adding some wood under there. But you put these mounting plates on, you secure them in place, and then you can screw your new legs into the mounting plates. Make sure that you check beforehand that you get the right ones that correspond to the right diameter of the screw for the legs that you're screwing in, because some of them are a little bit thinner, some of them a little bit thicker, a little more girthy. So you want to know that ahead of time. And you also have 2 different options for these mounting plates. You can get regular ones so that when you screw the legs in, they sit, straight up and down. Or if you want more of that mid-century look and you want those to be at an angle and jutted out to the side, you can also get angled leg mounting plates, and just make sure when you're screwing them in that they are pointed in the right direction so that they're angled outwards and not inwards, because that's not as structurally sound, in my non-engineering opinion. And the 5th and final piece of furniture anatomy are catches and latches. And the purpose of these are to keep your cabinet doors or buffet doors closed securely. which could be especially helpful if either the piece of furniture is older and not quite sitting perfectly level anymore, or if the room that the furniture piece is going to be sitting in isn't perfectly level, which, I mean, a lot of them aren't. And so that keeps the doors securely closed so that they aren't either peeking open or just fully falling open and exposing the items within. And there's a few different styles of these. The more, I guess, modern style, or most often what I see for like china cabinets and cabinets that have more glass in them, are magnet catches. So one piece is mounted on the inside, top or bottom of the door, and then the other half of that catch is mounted either on the upper or somewhere on the inner frame of that space where the door is, so that when the door closes, it butts up against that other end of the magnet and it holds it securely in place. The version of these catches that I see quite often on older pieces are the double roller catch that have the diamond strikes. So the piece that's mounted on the frame of the furniture piece itself is kind of, how do I describe this? Like a little rectangle with two little rollers on it that are side by side. And the diamond strike is a little piece of metal, typically, that almost looks like you held it on each end and pushed it together so that it kind of like came up into a little point. If you turn it on its side, it looks like a little diamond. And that is mounted on the inside of the door of the piece of furniture, so that when you close it, that diamond strike, that little point, pushes through those double rollers and it gets caught in there so that it's held securely. Depending on how old the piece is or the rollers are and how like kind of rusty they are, you might have to push it a little bit hard-ish. And depending how hard it is, you may want to switch that out if it's like a really old piece or has been exposed to the elements. So maybe it's kind of rusty. That might be something that's worth switching out. They're really inexpensive and they're handy just to keep on hand in case you ever do need to add them on. But it's a quick switch out. They're just screwed in with little screws, and it makes a big difference for the functionality of the piece long term. And something you may not know about me, I love little motivational messages. They always get me fired up, and I keep a running list of ones that are especially catchy or speak to me in the Notes app on my phone. So I end every podcast episode with one that I've noted down over the years in hopes that you leave our time here each week feeling inspired, motivated, and ready to take on whatever comes your way this week. So today's Mel's motivational message comes from former US President Barack Obama, and it is, don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't be afraid to ask for help when you need it. I do that every day. Asking for help isn't a sign of weakness, it's a sign of strength. It shows you have the courage to admit when you don't know something and to learn something new. And that is a message that I would like to constantly reiterate with you guys, because there truly is no such thing as a dumb question. And remember that Google is your friend, or ChatGPT, or whatever the kids are using these days. But if you don't know what a piece or a component of a piece of furniture that you're working on is, or if you're like, it seems like if there was something here that could hold this door closed, that it would make it much more functional, just start Googling or ask somebody that you know that does this work, or just turn to Google, and if you don't know like what the name of it is, put in like the most basic search term that you can, like furniture thing that would hold door closed, or something like so basic and nonsensical, and I guarantee it will show you what you want. The algorithms are great. They always want to be selling something to you. So they're going to find a way to make your search work, and they're going to find the product that you need. And that's the only way that you're going to learn these things as you do this work. And asking questions in general in life is so important, because it's how we learn new things. It's how we challenge the things we think we already know, and our opinions and our perspectives. And more than ever now, I think that's so important in the world that we live in, because it's so easy to be in our own little silos. So remember to ask questions. It's not a sign of weakness, it's of strength, and it's admitting that you don't know something, and it's giving you the opportunity to learn something new, to expand your knowledge. And then once you know it, like you can lock that in and you're like, okay, I got it. Like, I assumed there was a name for these wheels that are on the bottom of furniture, but now I know they're casters. Okay, I can put that in my brain and move on with my life. So remember to ask questions as you move throughout this week. And if you need somebody to turn to because you have a question about furniture refinishing, you know you can always reach out to me. All right, that's it for now. I appreciate your time, and I will catch you guys next week.